Hello, everyone. My name is Mark McCullough. Represent the City of Ann Arbor Engineering Unit on behalf of the consulting firm Wade Trim, and I'm here today to talk to you about the Zina Pitcher, Catherine, and Observatory Resurfacing and Safety Project for details that are known as of December 11th, 2025. I'm really glad you're able to join us today. The agenda for today's discussion includes the following. We're going to talk about project goals, project limits and scope, road safety audit, the Catherine Street cycle track, the various project phases, and frequently asked questions that are related to this project. So City Council, dating back to 2011, have approved various initiatives and goals that are instituted into street projects within the city limits. And the three that you see here on your screen, Complete Streets, Vision Zero, and the Comprehensive Transportation Plan, were all used and reviewed as to take aspects of all of those goals and initiatives and implement them into this project. Complete Streets is basically a concept where we look at things from a non-car centric viewpoint. So we're looking more at how the pedestrian and the cyclist and bus interact with the road itself. And then Vision Zero is a goal where we as designers look to reduce and or eliminate serious injuries and fatalities on our roadways. And then the Comprehensive Transportation Plan collaborates with all these different documents and research that's been done and implement best strategies and tools that can be utilized as part of projects so that we are providing the safest and most efficient streets possible to the users that visit and work and live within Ann Arbor. This slide here on slide 4 looks at our project limits, which are in yellow here. The Observatory Street, which is all the way on the left, is from that roundabout at the cardiovascular centers and is going south halfway between the roundabout and East Medical Drive, which is a private road that's utilized by the medical campus. Zina Pitcher is going from Huron Street north and south from Huron Street to Catherine. And then Ann Street is going from Zina Pitcher Place to Observatory. Ann Street is what we call a Tier 2 safety corridor as part of the Comprehensive Transportation Plan. So we try to utilize whatever features are within that document that I talked about previously and incorporate those into the project scope. And then likewise, Catherine Street is also a Tier 2 safety corridor, which is also labeled, identified as an all ages and abilities bike route. We'll get into that in a moment. So the project limits on Catherine is from Glen Street to Zina Pitcher. So using pictures to be able to describe the project scope, these 6 really sum them up pretty well. So we're going to be utilizing asphalt and resurfacing. So we have a nice ride quality through those 4 roads that we identified on the previous slide. We'll be looking at fixing, repairing sidewalk and curb and gutter that's in need of repair within those 4 street limits. There will be some storm sewer upgrades that are occurring within the project limits. So by that, we're talking minor work on like some of the larger scale projects citywide. This is from the curb limits into the main trunk line into the roadway. The cycle track on Catherine Street, which we'll get into shortly. Traffic signs will be upgraded along the project corridors, all 4 of them. And then there's going to be some traffic signal upgrades at the intersection of Zina Pitcher and Ann Street, where it will become compliant for pedestrians who using audible ready signals for them to cross the road in all directions there. So the road safety audit, it was a project that was done on behalf of the city of Ann Arbor by a consulting firm, WSP, and it was funded by SEMCOG. And this study looked at opportunities to enhance the safety along the corridors that you see on that sheet, Glen Avenue and Catherine Street, Glen and Ann Street, and Ann and Zina Pitcher. And some of the final recommendations that were published in that safety audit apply to the 4 roads that we'll be working on as part of this presentation. So some of those final recommendations are new pavement markings, improving traffic signal timing where they can be changed at existing signals, provide countdown pedestrian signals. This is at Ann and Zina Pitcher. Institute no turn on red restrictions at intersections that do not have them today. Provide bicycle-friendly drainage grates. What that essentially means is that if you're riding your bicycle along the edge of the roadway, along the curb, that your tire doesn't get stuck within the grate itself, so the grates align perpendicular to your wheel path. Reduce crossing distances for pedestrians at Ann and Zina Pitcher. We'll be redesigning the northeast and southeast corners to reduce the crossing distance that a pedestrian is exposed to traffic while crossing that intersection. We're reviewing about the upgrading of existing road signs. We talked about that in the previous slide. And then we'll be enhancing sidewalk ramps along the project limits so that they are compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act. So this is a slide that was taken from the Ann Arbor downtown area circulation study. And essentially, there's many aspects to this as far as how they could improve traffic flows, both from a vehicle and non-vehicle standpoint within the downtown area. And one of the things that came from this was the need and opportunities to be able to get a bike route that connect to the medical campus. And the best route from that study that was identified, the preferred alternative that was selected, was to incorporate a cycle track on Catherine Street, from Division Street to the medical campus at Zina Pitcher. And the reasons for that was that Miller Street already has bike routes on them, as well as Catherine Street between First Street and Division. So when you incorporate that with the biking infrastructure that's already on Division Street, Catherine Street ended up being a perfect opportunity to be able to finish the route to the medical campus, putting in a cycle track. So this is going to be done through 2 different projects. The one you see here in red is what we're calling the Zina Pitcher project. That's what we were focusing in on today. Other city managers from the project managers for the city will be incorporating the rest of the Catherine Street bike path cycle track as part of a different project. Both will be done in 2026. This slide gives you perspective of what that will look like as far as on Catherine Street between Glen and Zina Pitcher. If you're familiar with this road, there are 3 lanes that go from the east to the west, one-way traffic. And that northmost lane, when I say north, the lane that is closest to the curb line on the north side of the roadway will be converted from a traffic lane to a cycle track, as you see here. So there'll be 2 4-foot lanes, bidirectional, that you see there in green, so that the cyclists can either continue their destination to the medical campus and where it'll end at Zina Pitcher, or just get started and continue westbound through the Glen Street intersection to Division and other parts of the city. So we're going to segue here into construction phasing details. This is just a brief overview. There's a lot more to it, but we're going to try to get the meat and potatoes here explained to you. So this project is broken up into 3 phases, and each phase has a subcomponent, an A and a B to it. So I want to stress that all times that you see here, the tentative timelines, are subject to change. We're still vetting those out. It may go into the fall semester, but for now, we're going to aim to have this work done by August 15th, 2026. However, it could go into September. So that being said, Phase 1A will focus on reconstructing the West Medical Drive approach, which is owned by the University of Michigan. And that's going to be done to improve pedestrian use from one side of the street to the other, and then also improve the sidewalk slope from the northeast corner of Glen Street to West Medical Drive. For those of you that are familiar with that segment of sidewalk there, the road was pretty steep. So we're looking at opportunities to be able to put in different routes to get from one intersection to the other. We're hoping to do that by a switchback concept so that it's easier for someone who has mobility challenges or is in a wheelchair to be able to get from one intersection to the other. The tentative timeline on that is from April 13th to May 11th. The entrance to West Medical Drive, which is a private road to University of Michigan, would be closed during that duration. So that detour route for cars would be Catherine Street to Glen and Fuller, and then Fuller to East Medical Drive, where it then connects to the other side of West Medical Drive. Phase 2 here focuses on the red, which in the intersection of Zina Pitcher and Ann Street. This is a 1 week duration, and the goal at this point of the project is to put in 4 different storm sewer lines to the main trunk line that resides within the center of the road. These drainage inlets are in poor shape, and the only way we're going to be able to put in new structures and a new storm sewer pipe lead to the main trunk line is we need to close the intersection down. So that means that Zina Pitcher from Huron Street all the way to Catherine will be closed. And then just the portion you see there in orange for Ann Street would be closed as well. All access to the 3 parking structures owned and operated by the University of Michigan will remain open for all phases of this project. What you see in green is what will be open to traffic. So Catherine Street will become, on a temporary basis for 1 week, a bidirectional roadway so that access is gained to the back of the Con Health Pavilion. So that is in place. And then likewise, access to the front door, access to both Cardiovascular Center and the Con Health Pavilion will be maintained from East Medical Drive via the roundabout, 2-directional. But you'll have to then turn around at the driveway and then head backwards. So this timeline is scheduled tentatively from May 4th through May 8th. And it will incorporate a detour from using Huron Street to Glen Street to Catherine Street. And then likewise, so that's for Zina Pitcher. And then for the detour for Ann Street would use Observatory, Geddes, Washtenaw, Huron Street, and Glen Street. So then we segue into phase 2A, Zina Pitcher and Catherine Street. So this is going to focus on 2 different phases, and each phase is going to really, the bulk of the work is going to happen at the Ann and Zina Pitcher intersection. 2A being the northeast corner, where we talked about we're going to reduce the crossing distance between the corners so that it reduces the exposure time to pedestrians as they're crossing the roadway. So in order to accomplish that, what you see in green is what will be open to traffic, and what is in orange will be closed to traffic. So purpose of this is to resurface pavement within the orange areas, curb, sidewalk repairs, storm sewer inlets, reconstruct the northeast, as we talked of Ann and Zina Pitcher, start working on traffic signal infrastructure, and then build the cycle track that we talked about on Catherine Street. So all access to driveways will be maintained. So Catherine Street Court, that little access court, a service drive, will be maintained. So traffic will be able to get from the green part to that court during construction while it's ongoing. But Zina Pitcher will be closed between Huron Street and Ann Street, and that's so that the contractor can work on that intersection there. Tentative timeline is May 11th through June 6th, and the detour route will utilize Huron, Glen, and Ann Streets due to the closure on Zina Pitcher. Catherine Street at this time will then revert back to its normal one-way traffic from eastbound to westbound. Then focusing on phase 2, more of the same, but the focus then will shift to the southeast corner of Ann and Zina Pitcher. The cycle track will be open at that point for use from Glen Street to Zina Pitcher, as shown there in purple, cyan above, not cyan, magenta above. And then the traffic will shift from one side of the street to the other, and the work will do vice versa. So tentative timeline on that is June 8th to July 3rd, with the detour route then being from Huron, Glen, and Ann Street. So same as phase 2A. As far as buses go, I neglected to state this in the previous slide. Bus routes may be impacted as part of each phase. We have informed both the RIDE and the University of Michigan about these tentative closure dates, and they are putting together a plan in order to accommodate needs for the busing for people that utilize that to get to the University of Michigan medical campus as part of work or other needs. So our recommendation is, as you get closer to the start date in April, tune into the websites of the RIDE and the University of Michigan bus routes and see how they plan to work around these road closures and hopefully reduce any impacts to your ride to commute to your destinations. All right, phase 3A will then focus on Ann Street and Observatory. So this will primarily be working within the roundabout. There's some drainage issues that need to be resolved in there. And in order to make that work, the north side of Ann Street and the east side of Observatory Street will be closed to through traffic. However, access will be maintained to the cardiovascular center under a flagging operation while work is ongoing. So traffic will be on Ann Street going eastbound from Zina Pitcher to Observatory, and then southbound on Observatory from Ann to East Medical Drive. So we'll focus on resurfacing the pavement, doing some curb and sidewalk repairs, storm sewer inlets where applicable, and then reconstructing that roundabout. That tentative timeline is July 6th to August 1st, with the detour route for North Observatory and westbound Ann Street, northbound Observatory and westbound Ann Street being Observatory, south to Getty's, west to Washtenaw, north to Zina Pitcher Place. And then finally, phase 3A will focus primarily on finishing up the resurfacing in orange on the other side of the roadway. The traffic will then go reverse in the opposite direction, as you see here with the green arrows. So now what will be open to traffic will be northbound Observatory to westbound Ann Street to Zina Pitcher, and then eastbound and southbound will be closed to traffic. We'll be focusing on also putting in the new traffic signal for Ann and Zina Pitcher. Tentative timeline for this work is August 3rd to August 15th, with a detour for eastbound Ann Street and westbound Observatory Street being from Zina Pitcher Place, south to Washtenaw, east on Getty's, north on Observatory. And then this is a summary of, as today, that we know it using the calendar of the 6 phases that we talked about and how the different shades will span across different weeks of each month from April to August. And just for me to reiterate, all dates are subject to change, and this project may lag into September and October, which is the fall of 2026 for the University of Michigan. All right, so last, frequently asked questions that may pertain to this project. So will traffic detours for motorists and cyclists be posted for each project phase? Yes. All routes will be signed. Communication will also be posted on the city website and shared with the University of Michigan. Question 2, will sidewalks be open for use during construction? Yes. However, each phase will have sidewalk segments closed for construction. In these cases, a signed pedestrian detour route will be provided. Question 3, will construction impact my drive to a medical appointment? The answer is yes, very likely. Delays may occur to arrive to your destination. Extra time is encouraged to ensure you arrive on time for your appointment. The city will provide construction information to the University of Michigan in hopes that they pass this along to their patients who are visiting for medical appointments. Question 4, will all parking garages in the University of Michigan campus area be open during construction? Yes. All access to these parking structures will be provided while all phases of construction, including subphases, are occurring. Question 5, will I be able to drop off and pick up a patient to the front door of the Con Healthcare Pavilion and the Cardiovascular Center during construction? Yes. However, there could be some times where you'll need to provide some additional time to arrive to your medical appointment. So essentially what that means is there may be some operations going on that day where traffic needs to be held up. So please provide extra time to get to your appointment. Question 6, will bus routes be impacted during construction? Yes. Refer to the provider's website, in this case, the RIDE or the University of Michigan, to learn if your bus commute will be impacted during construction. And then finally, question 7, will on-street parking be allowed during construction? And the answer is yes. However, each phase will restrict on-street parking. So what that means is that in those phases on Hand Street and Zina Pitcher, so phase 2 and phase 3, during those phases, no on-street parking will be permitted during that time. However, once that phase is over, it is projected that on-street parking will be permissible once again on that street. Okay, well, we appreciate you tuning in. If you have any questions or concerns, you're welcome to reach out to me. My name is Mark McCullough. I am a representative of the City Ann Arbor Engineering Unit, and I can be reached at that email address at mmcculloch@a2gov.org, and my phone number is 734-947-2698. Thanks for joining in, and I hope you have a wonderful day.